Welcome to Uncomfortable Growth Uncut, where we celebrate those who defy fear, embrace growth, and live without regret. In this episode, we peel back the layers to reveal the person behind the profile with Nat Harvey. Nat shares her journey of uncomfortable growth from her time at Seven West Media to her recent leap into a Chief Revenue Officer role, and then 4 months later into her first CEO role. Tune in to hear how Nat overcame imposter syndrome, embraced the power of purpose, and navigated the challenges and opportunities that come with a major career transition. So we're here today with the wonderful Nat Harvey. Nat is currently and just very recently promoted to the CEO of Mamamia, which is brilliant. But I also know Nat quite well from the time when we worked together at Seven West Media. So welcome to the Uncomfortable Growth podcast, Nat.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ro.
Well, given now that you're the queen of podcasts through Mamamia, I'm hoping you'll be able to give me a few tips.
That's hilarious. I'm definitely not talent. I love listening to podcasts, but I'm not sure that I've got the voice that people want to have in their ears for long periods of time.
Never say never, Nat. Never say never. So what I want us to just kick off with is for you to share your uncomfortable growth story, and feel free to just share what that is, and then we'll have a conversation and see where it takes us.
Okay, absolutely. So I've had two pretty significant uncomfortable growth scenarios, and I'll talk about the most recent one because that's the most obvious one, and that being moving to Mamamia after over 8 years at Seven. I loved working at Seven. I loved the business. I loved the content. I loved our connection with Australians. I was always incredibly proud to say that I worked there and talk about what shows were coming up, talk about the footy, talk about so many things. However, I got to a point where I got approached for a role and I hadn't been thinking about what was next for me. I just, when you get stuck on that kind of hamster wheel of you're busy, so you're just doing all the things that you need to do. And so your time goes by really quickly. And I had a friend of mine ask me and said, "What's your next move?" And for me, I just brushed it off. I said, "I don't know. I'll think about it when I get 2 seconds." I'm
Don't have 2 seconds.
I know, which is terrible, but that's how I felt. I was just always so busy. That's the sort of person I am, though. There's always things to do, places to be, people to see. But then it was only like 2 days after that when this role came up as an opportunity. And I do feel like had I not had that conversation with a friend she said, "I'm going to tell you, I'm going to keep pushing you on this. Each time we catch up, I'm going to be like, what are you doing? What's your next plans? If it's staying where you're staying, what are you doing to keep making sure you're growing? If you're looking at other roles, then I'm going to annoy you about that as well," which is just amazing and talks to the power of having invested friendships where people genuinely care about you as a human, but you as a business person and your career.
Mm-hmm.
So I went for the meeting with the Jason, who was the CEO and co-founder, and Nick, who heads up people and culture. And within 10 minutes, I'm probably exaggerating, it might have even been less than that, I was just won over by the sense of purpose and ambition of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And it just lit a spark in me that I was very unexpected because, as I said, I loved what I did. I loved the business that I worked for. But the purpose of Mamamia is to make the world a better place for women and girls.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a woman, that resonates pretty quickly. However, the more I looked into it, the more I could see how real that was. It's very easy to come up with a value statement or a mission statement that could easily be replicated with somebody else's logo if they stuck it on top.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot do that with ours. We have the business has been built over 17 years with a very very considered and tight editorial guidelines. Don't take paparazzi shots. Don't pay for paparazzi shots. We don't take certain advertising. We want this to be a safe space for women where they can, connect with other people, where they can connect with our stories, where they can learn about what's going on in the world, where they can be inspired, they can be educated. And so that is very, very difficult to replicate. So when you look at Warren Buffett's moats and moonshots, we have an incredible moat, which as a business, but is powerful. But as someone who, when you think about how much time you spend working and trying to create great outcomes, when you're doing it with that sense of purpose at the same time, that is incredible, and it's real, and it radiates through the whole business. I saw that very quickly after I started. So doing that that's a huge jump for me, right? Because I was very comfortable, and moving to a different business where I was going to be challenged excited me. I felt like I could have a real impact because of the experience that I've had in agencies and publisher side and across different markets as well. I knew that there was a really big story to tell about Mamamia, so I felt like I could have an impact, and working with the incredible team that's here. I know that when I've got this sense of I'm delivering something good, and that's having a really positive upside on the business, that makes me feel good. That's what drives me. That's what my motivation is. And so that was the kind of key reason for moving over personally. And it's been wonderful. I have to say, though, the first couple of weeks, I was massive fish out of water. I had imposter syndrome like you would not believe. I was trying to learn another language around podcasts and the way the business is set up, and revenue reports, and trying to reconcile, that's what this means from where I was previously, and trying to just work out where all the signals were in the data that I'm looking at. And so that was incredibly uncomfortable. And I can see why people do stay in businesses for a long time, or get fearful of taking a new avenue, because I would suggest this happens to everybody, that when you feel like you're an expert in what you're doing and you're succeeding and delivering good outcomes, that moving to another space, can you do that again? That's hard, like to back yourself. And so for like 2 weeks, I was going, oh no, they're going to think I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm used to being in a room where people look to me for answers and I can give them straight away. And I couldn't do that. I was learning just like as quickly as I possibly could. But then once I got over that, and like 2 weeks is a really short space of time, really, I started to get my stride, and that uncomfortableness went away pretty quickly. And it's worked out incredibly well. The business is, we're getting positive feedback from our customers. I've obviously taken a new step because I did move in. I came over as Chief Revenue Officer.
So there's a bit more of the story.
There's a lot. Sorry, and this is it. This is why I can't go on a podcast. I have my own podcast because I just keep rambling.
No, the ramblings are divine, because there's so much depth in terms of what you're saying. But let's just kind of share with the audience what has actually happened in this very short time period between when you took the role, and what you're doing now.
So I started at the end of January, and we announced on the 7th of May that I was moving into the CEO role on the 1st of June. Okay. So that is pretty quick.
That's the world's fastest promotion. Nat,
yeah. And, when we were talking about the opportunity as CRO, there was discussion that in the future that might be a stepping stone. Obviously, we needed to feel each other out on the way through. So I did think that maybe in the future that could be an opportunity. In my mind, that was like 1 to 2 years away, at least, if I'm doing a good job, and if the business sees that I'm that next leader. And the Jason and Mia are incredible, and it's their business, right? It's like it's an extension of it. So to earn their trust and confidence so quickly I was kind of blown away by. I've always been someone who works incredibly hard, but probably underestimates themselves. So that was a really pleasant surprise to have this conversation so early. But I'm so pumped and so excited because we have this incredible opportunity and this window that I feel like what's going on in terms of media consumption and what audiences are looking for. There's this real quite transformation of news content happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we offer from a ecosystem perspective across all of our platforms, we've got enormous scale, we've got enormous engagement and enormous impact. And so I feel like there's this kind of perfect storm that is suited just for us. And so the ad market's quite challenged at the moment, but we're living in our own bubble because we're able to move a lot more with a lot more agility
Mm-hmm.
and be able to create new ways of working and new content very, very quickly. So we have this amazing feedback loop too with our audience. So we know what they're listening to, what they're watching, what they're talking about. So we're able to move very, very quickly to be able to make sure that we're maintaining relevance at the very highest level. And it's working. So yeah, I feel super fortunate. Like the timing was incredible. The where the business has got to in that 17 years is amazing. Like, you know, we're the largest women's podcast network in the world. We're an enormous independent publisher in Australia. And so it's like they've built this amazing business and now I feel like I can take it to a new level.
Absolutely. I can so see it. And what I find, so when you called me and said that, you've got this news that you're being promoted to the CEO, there was absolutely no surprise for me. And and like you were talking around, oh, like this is an amazing opportunity and it's incredible, but I wasn't expecting it. And for me, I just went, no, it wasn't a surprise at all. And I think it's because, I've known you quite well over a number of years and we've always stayed in touch. Um, but I think you have a really unique gift, which is being able to be in the moment and really connect with people, with opportunity, and also with openness. So what I see you do, or from our past working lives, is you're very open, but you're very clear then in terms of how to move forward. And the way you do it is with people. And I just know, when you think about businesses and stuff, like you want the right person more than just a skill set. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that's exactly how they felt.
Yeah.
Here comes Nat, Chief Revenue Officer, amazing role. But then it's like, wow, she's the right person. She can
Yeah.
be part of us.
Yeah, and I think it has to be the right person in the right role too, because I drink the Kool-Aid pretty hard wherever I am. I always have, which is a really that's a huge benefit, I think. And I think not everybody should be in a leadership position like that, because if you're not in the right business or you're not with the right people, you don't have the right vision, then that can really, really halt progress. And we've got very big growth ambitions and we're accelerating very, very quickly. So I think my energy and, dreaming about the future and what could be is just perfectly suited for what the business needs right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where, that connection, and I felt it as soon as I had that first conversation about where I could play a role in the business. It's so important. And I think it's very difficult to find, especially as you get more experience and as you get older. I think you get a little bit more clear and a bit more clarity on what it is that will bring you joy and what you're going to get the most out of and what people get the most out of you. And so, as I said, perfect timing and just super fortunate that the business had got to such an amazing place to be able for me to kind of take it to that next space.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so fascinating when you look back and think, okay, so I don't know, probably 8 months ago, you had
Yeah,
no thoughts, so your
I
friend was
know.
there going, Nat, what are you thinking about next? What are
I
you
know.
looking for? 8 months ago, you were in a completely different place.
Yes, I know. And I was thinking about that only just like a month ago, but I feel like I've got out of that um, thinking back that, oh, this has been quick and I was only doing
Uh-huh.
this not a short time ago. I feel like I've been able to move past that now
Uh-huh.
because so much, I've been doing so much over the last few months. And I feel like I'm really ingrained in the business and
Yep.
I feel like I've been here forever, which is quite strange, but also feels amazing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like I talked before, you're very focused but open. So that's one of the beautiful tensions that exist in you. So it's like,
Yeah,
here's what we're doing, here's how we're moving forward, and here's the vision, and get everyone around it. But you're still very open. And I think with uncomfortable growth, that's a huge part of it, because you want to be all in terms of what you're doing and, passionate and making contributions and really having an impact. But also, sometimes things change, or sometimes there's new opportunities that just suddenly come up. And it's
totally.
and it's like, okay, so okay, what could this be? What's the possibility behind this?
Yes,
And I think it's knowing when, trusting your gut and knowing when, which makes that such a powerful combination. Um,
yeah. And I'll also add to that, Ro, not being scared because
mm,
for my family are very reliant on my career.
mhm,
And so, to be completely frank, when I was talking to my husband about the opportunity, he was like, "You're crazy, don't do it. You're so comfortable where you are. That's a risk."
mm,
But that desire to learn and to grow outweighed the risk part.
mhm,
And I know for a lot of people, they probably look at it and go, "Oh, now's not the right time because of this or
mhm,
that." Um, but I would encourage people to be really open because
mhm,
you just don't know what's out there. And it's really easy to have your blinkers on
mhm,
and either think you can't do something, think you're not qualified, or think you're not an expert in a space, um, thinking, oh, maybe it won't work out. But the majority of the time, it will. And then if it doesn't, well, at least you gave it a crack. And at
yeah,
least you went, okay, well, that's not for me. You get actually a little bit more clarity on what it is that maybe you should
mhm,
be focusing your time on and where there's opportunity. And I know that's easy for me to say because things have worked out so well from, I made the right call. But I would do it all over again. Like I don't think, even if things hadn't have worked out,
yeah,
I still got so much out of being able to push myself and learn a bit more about myself. What does bring me joy? What gives me that pep in my step? What do I love talking about? Like when you're in sales, you have to talk about your business a lot, right? And this is easy. It's a really easy position to talk about. So, yeah, it's hard. Risk is difficult to get your head around, but still, it's also there's so much opportunity out there, and our
yeah.
world is moving quickly, and yeah,
Yeah. Well, I also like what you said, which is just give it a crack, give it a go, because then
yeah,
regardless of whether it's a soaring success or like it just didn't work to plan at all, you gave it a go when and
yeah,
you can move forward again. Because the thing I always talk about with uncomfortable growth is the growth is on the other side.
100%.
The
You can grow,
uncomfortable part is first, the
yeah,
growth is on the other side.
that's right, and you can grow in your current role, and you can grow in your current business, but it's not the same. And I think, you know, life's too short to be on a hamster wheel.
Hmm.
And there's just been a few things that I've seen around recently with some friends, some family, and you don't know what's going to happen in the next month, 2 months, 2 years.
Hmm.
And this is getting a little bit deep now, but I don't know, I kind of have had this real reflection around make the most of things, make the most of life, be able to see opportunities and grab them when they're there. Say yes to things. Don't say no, or "Oh, that's going to be too hard, or I'm scared of that,"
Mm.
because you don't know what's coming next. And,
Mhm.
Edith Piaf, No Regrets,
Mhm.
be my theme song.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, you talked about another uncomfortable growth
Oh,
story.
yeah. Yeah. Again, it's all work related because work's a lot of me.
That's
And
okay.
anyone that knows me that might be listening knows, oh yeah, Nat is probably a workaholic. But that's okay. I embrace that. You've talked about the strength finder mentality, and I see it as a strength. So the other one was when I was at for 10 years, so media agency,
Mm.
and I moved to Seven. And that was different because I'd never worked in sales before, although everybody is in sales, as they say. If you've got
Mhm.
selling an idea or you're selling a new part of your business there's a different business unit or something like that.
Mhm.
So that was a real challenge for me too. But again, it worked out really well, like incredibly well. Couldn't have done it better. But that again, if I come back to this whole feeling of having an impact and how I get joy out of work, my team and I were able to move the dial so quickly in terms of hitting our KPIs. We turned around our NPS with customers. We changed the way that we worked in terms of we changed our operating structure with another business unit. And that's where upon reflection, when I was looking at this role, that's where I had the most joy and I was happiest in my career, even though I did love what I was doing in my last role. But
Mm.
that feeling of, oh, wow, what we're doing is working, and it's
Yeah.
people are happy around
Transforming.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's that when upon reflection, that time in Brisbane on Mount Cootha at Seven was amazing. I loved it. And we had the best time.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So it's just basically being able to step into the unknown and just be there
Yeah,
full-hearted and, figure it out while you're doing it. Because I think you don't ever really know what a role is like until you're in it. I mean, you can have amazing conversations prior and buy into the vision, but the reality of the day-to-day only happens when you're in it day to day.
totally. Yeah. And culturally as well,
Uh-huh.
people might tell you what a culture is like, but until you're in it, you can't see whether you're going to fit in perfectly
Mm.
or whether it's going to be the dream culture for you. And
Mm-hmm.
some people have good experiences, some people have bad experiences, no matter where they are. But it's also what you make of it too. If you can, to your point, you said I'm really open. I'll always ask a million questions and just be quite vulnerable, because otherwise I would drive myself crazy not knowing what's going on or second guessing myself. So I think that's kind of the best approach if you're starting a new job. Ask a million questions. No one's ever going to judge you for doing that, and you'll certainly feel a lot better.
Well, also, I think too, when you come in with fresh eyes and you ask those, even obvious questions, it makes other people rethink them. Like, oh, this was the answer, but actually, does that make the most sense? Or, oh, I haven't asked that question in a really long time. There's a curiosity, I think, is one of the most like
Mm.
critical, impactful, because it engages other people, but it also helps to integrate innovation and change. So, that curiosity is one of the things that is about possibility connection, right?
Yeah,
So
totally.
what
I
if?
actually worry about that with younger people today. And when I'm talking about like 14-year-old child, my son Stanley, he loves using AI,
Uh-huh.
ChatGPT. He uses smart speakers to find out answers to things. And I just wonder what does curiosity look like in 10 years' time for teenagers now?
Mm.
Because they've got so much information at their fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
When we were growing up, you had to go to the library, work out where a book was, find something, interpret that, get that into your assignment, handwrite it into your assignment. There's no copy
Yeah.
pasting or anything like that. And I wonder what curiosity will look like in the next 10 years, 20
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
and where that next lot of inventors are coming from.
Yeah, and how to nurture that, right? When a lot of it is about, well, here's all the stuff that will give you the answer or do it for you.
Yes.
The hope is that uh, if that is there, it can enable you to ask bigger questions or harder
Yes.
questions and bring together more connections. I find it
100%.
really.
I actually have that now. So, my son's 14 and we have conversations that I wasn't having even when was 25, I don't think. Like their level of understanding of complex issues, like global issues, like he knows a lot about American politics
Mhm.
because of because there is that, I guess, that curiosity around asking more questions of the
Mm.
system.
If you can get
But
the answers faster because you don't
then,
have to go to the library. Um,
yeah,
but
just
it's
their
the
brains are gonna be
discipline.
wired so differently, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I do think it's a really important point because it's the discipline of being curious. Even if, whether you grew up like me in the 70s or whether you're born in the AI age,
Mm,
it's the discipline of being able to ask questions, to be open, to connect things, in complex systems and to
yes.
actually see how you can shape it. Because obviously, the more complex a system is, the harder it is to shape it moving forward, or it takes more alignment to get
Which
people
is
on board.
I love that we've got into AI, but it's also kind of reflective of change and transformation of business, right? Because you do have to
Mm-hmm.
find all new connectors and leverage
Mm-hmm.
human capital to be able to enable that to happen. And it's just fascinating how quickly the media world is moving. And I've worked in media my whole career, so I know there's
Mm-hmm.
been plenty of other industries that have had to transform very quickly, but media is the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
The next 5 years are going to be fascinating to see what the media landscape looks like, and it will come down to the people who are able to your point, be able to leverage those ecosystems and those connection points in new ways
Mm.
and do it
Mm.
quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe AI is there to underpin speed and clarity of data, and be able to derive new insights. But it's fascinating what's
Yeah.
happening at the moment in media.
Yeah. Well, I was at the News Corp Decoded event on Tuesday,
Mhm.
and so industry stuff, but fascinating just how quickly it's shifted now to data partnerships. But how do
Mhm.
you share your data to get new data and
Yes.
create the whole customer journey and strengthen the signals, right? And that, remember going back 5 years, it was like you own your data and you keep your data and you want to get your first party data.
Yes. But also so many
Yeah.
businesses had pretty poor data management systems.
Yes.
So I remember talking to one brand that had multiple stores across Australia, and each store had their own CRM essentially, and they could not connect them together. So
Yeah.
there's been so much advancement in data management systems that is a real reality, and brands working directly in with publishers to be able
Mm-hmm.
to find that shared audience, to be able to look at how do they grow together, that mutual partnership. It's closer
Mm.
than it's been. There's been pockets of it, and you see some really good work happening in terms of matching and being able to deliver that joint growth. But I think that'll be a huge opportunity in the future. Short
Mm.
term future, by the way.
Mm.
I'm not talking
Mm.
Marty McFly in a DeLorean. We're
Yeah.
talking
No,
now.
no. And it's this consistent theme now of as the systems and the problems become complex, you can't solve it within one piece. How do you connect outwardly, right? And
Mm,
this is where the curiosity, this is where the change leadership, this is where being open but focused, right? It becomes such important skills because it's only through that true collaboration and co-creation that you'll be able to unlock the real opportunities that are out there.
100%. And also the other part to it is diversity of people in the room making decisions or having these conversations.
Yeah.
It's hard to have that shared curiosity or that shared um, you don't want people who all think the same way, basically, is what I'm trying to say,
Yeah,
because you're not
absolutely.
going to be asking the right questions. You're not going to be looking for the different signals. You're not going to pick up on different things. So,
Yeah,
diversity in executive leadership teams and senior management roles is critical to survival in the future.
yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So I have a few quick fire
Yep.
questions for the end now. I love how we've meandered.
Sorry, this
This is
is
how
me.
every breakfast catch up works for us,
I
right?
know. I know.
Okay, so a couple of quick questions. What's three things you've learned about yourself recently?
Okay, three things I've learned about myself. Um, I'll go with the first one will be how important people connections for me is, and that is knowing the team, because I had to rebuild that with everybody that I work with, and
Mm-hmm.
that was critical for me to nail very quickly. So that had always been there, but I would say that's probably my number one importance in terms of having that, being able to do my job, but also have fun while I'm doing it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Second one, I would say I've learnt that I shouldn't be talent on podcasts. Having, we've got such amazing talent in the business. And I was going to start a podcast in Brisbane, hilariously. I even bought a business name for it and everything. It's going to be a Brisbane business podcast. So I was going to call it Taking Care of Business. But anyway, that's
Love it.
gone. But having met some incredible talent here, I am not in the same league, so I will stick to my lane. And then the third one for me, a very personal one, is how much I need to have a holiday booked. I've got this, I don't have a holiday booked at the moment, and my husband keeps sending me Instagram videos of Japan. And he also sent me one, it says no trip phobia. And so it's like having a trip booked, and he's got it and I've got it. So that's the other thing. But where that comes from is that family time together, exploring new worlds, really immersing ourselves in culture. We did it
Mm.
last year. We went away twice and had the best time. And now we've got this addiction. So I need to book a holiday.
Yes, yes. Well, I think you do. And I think that's so important when you work hard. Like, you've talked about your own drive and you love work. So that's a good thing. And it obviously is a part of you, but it's so important then to have that holiday and know that you have that time with your family and doing
Mhm.
things that bring joy to all of you.
Yes, yeah, 100%. And we like hanging out with each other too.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
When they say if you can travel with someone and have a real small number of arguments, then they're possibly your soulmate. And
That's
the three
beautiful.
of us go, okay. You
Yeah.
always get your little tense moments of, no, the train station's this way. No, it's that way. But you get through
Net, you enjoy hanging out.
it. Yeah.
That's good. Okay, next one. Um, what is a current fear, a current inspiration, and a current challenge at the moment?
Okay.
So
A current
fear, inspiration, and challenge.
a current fear is that I overwhelm everyone with how much opportunity there is. Like, I can see so much. And
Mm-hmm.
so I am concerned that I'm going to put too much onto everybody and everyone's going to be like, oh, this is too much. Calm down, Nat. What was the other one? Inspiration. A current inspiration. Uh, as cliched as this might sound, my son is really finding himself, and he's 14, and 14-year-olds are very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And so the last 12 months, he's a really different child and human. And I just love watching him grow in the conversations that we're having. He got back from camp the other day and we are just chatting about, what they did. They went down some wombat hole or something. I don't know. But we get to have different sorts of conversations now. And I look forward to our conversations more than I ever have.
Oh,
And
that's
then,
beautiful.
yeah, did you say, what was the other one?
Challenge for you at the moment.
A challenge. Just balancing my time, because as I said, there is so much opportunity, and
Mm-hmm.
I could fall back into the trap of just working constantly, but I know that I need to. My family need me, but also I'll get burnt out if I just go too hard. So
Mhm.
that fear and that challenge are pretty closely linked.
Yeah. And I love your openness again about that because I experience this with myself as well. When you get excited and passionate and you can see opportunity and you get the adrenaline from it, but
Mm.
there's a point which is you're you're doing too much, or you need to step back and let your mind rest, let your body rest, nourish your soul in other ways, because then you actually think better. But because, when you've got that drive where you see the opportunity and you get excited about it, you've got this kind of
Yes,
instant momentum. And so you really have to self-regulate. I find that with
100%.
myself.
Yeah, I think this happens for people like us, Ro, where it's like there's when you can see
Uh-huh.
so much opportunity, you just want to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you can
You don't
figure
want
out, you can see
to
it and
trust
you're like,
right.
and here's how we could make that happen. And,
Yeah.
it's a, like all things I say, it's a positive, but there's always a shadow side. And it's,
Yes.
getting to the point where you like, okay, I understand the absolute strengths, but I also recognize what to do so I don't burn out, or I'm not too focused on one thing, or I lose perspective. So I think they're all brilliant answers. So thank you, Nat. It's been such a delight to have you. I'm thrilled for you in your new role as CEO at Mamamia, and can't wait to see all the big things that are bound to happen with you at the helm.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I've loved our chat, as I love every chat that we have.
Exactly. Okay. If you are inspired but thinking, I can't do that, then you are so wrong. Anyone can learn the art of uncomfortable growth with the help of my flagship program, Uncomfortable Growth, Own Your Reinvention. In this, you will learn to navigate your own internal contradictions to finally unlock the courage and commitment to live a deeply meaningful life by design and on your terms. Uncomfortable growth is about the struggle and joy in discovering who you are, what you truly want, and how to make it happen. If this is something you are ready for, then find out more at www.rowenamillward.com. What have you got to lose, or more importantly, gain?